Continue on. We're very excited that we'll learn from the best about presentation, but not only presentation, but some humorous asides as to how to get your point across from someone who's extremely successful. We have with us today Ori Eisen, who has a phenomenal company that he built into a worldwide powerhouse. And then he sold that company to another worldwide powerhouse. And of course, like a good inventive gentleman, is now commencing on his next great big thing, a company called Trusona. So write that down and keep your eyes out for it, because it will be in the news in years or months to come. Ori, we welcome you to the Israel Conference stage.
Good morning, everybody. Before I start this presentation, first I want to say thank you to Sharona and Yossi and the Israel Conference for having me. After you'll see my presentation, you'll see why. Should I use this, guys? All right. I'm still here. All right. If you didn't know, Israel had IPOs and exits so far this year at around $5.9 billion. Small statistic. I would like that to double. When I sold my company, a lot of people ask me, so how did you do it? And there's no formula to doing it. You need one word, which is called mazal, or luck. But mazal is actually an acronym, if you didn't know. The 3 letters stands for makom, zman, velada'at, which is being at the right place at the right time and to know what to do. And other than that, you need to know how to raise money for your big idea. When I got my money from one of the largest VCs, a lot of Israeli friends asked me, how did you convince him to give you money? You're from Israel. And years later, I realized I made so many beginner mistakes when I started my journey that I just wanted to share them with everybody who's on the same journey. And now that I'm after the exit and investing myself in companies, when I see them present, I only see myself 20 years ago making the same kind of mistakes. So for that reason, I wanted to share and hope if people will take some lessons from this, we will actually double the number of exits and IPOs in Israel to $10 billion. So, without further ado, who's that guy? All right. If we can get back to the slides. All right. Stereo vision. As you can see, you can take Moshe out of Israel, but it's hard to take Israel out of Moshe. I chose to deliver my messages through comedy because otherwise I don't think the messages will come across. So, imagine that you have the next big idea and you go to Silicon Valley to present it. A lot of American investors hear the most amazing pitches ever. It's just that when you leave the room, that's what they say behind closed doors. Israelis like to speak louder than you, finish your sentences, and they're also telling you what you're thinking. I say this, if we only slow down, let some people give us some pointers and write them down, we will get a better chance of getting those investments. Did you know that Israel invented the most amazing elevator ever? This is an elevator where we enter it before other people leave. It is amazing. How many people knew that? But can you really blame us? Most Americans that we pitch in Silicon Valley grew up with Big Bird. We grew up with this guy. He is a prickly pear that was our educator when we were kids. So you really can't blame us. So here are the top 10 tips, joking aside, of if you were to go and pitch your big idea in order to get that investment. So the first one would be just lower your decibels. As you go through Ben Gurion Airport, get on that flight, just set your voice to library mode. Simple as that. To illustrate my point, I brought a map of world spoken decibels. As you can see, you can read by the legend, there's most of the world and Israel. Second is lower your chutzpah level. Again, as you go through the duty free, just think, all right, I'm going to set it to stun, not wear that hat. And again, if somebody finds themselves asking, tell me, do you think this will be chutzpah if I do this? If you ask that question, most likely the answer is yes. And my second illustration would be this map that you're now used to. Just learn the map, know where we're from. All right. Tip number 3, before you enter the room, iron your shirt. You want to get that big investment, first invest in an iron. And if you were born on a kibbutz, first invest in a shirt. All right. You can set your schlumper factor to low, again, as you leave the country and get ready to pitch and come well-dressed to your meeting. If the shirt costs $20 and it says made in Bangladesh, you might have not found the shirt yet. Wear real shoes. All right. Here's the tip. Wear shoes you can polish and then polish them. Don't wear your shkafkafim or sandals or anything else you take to the beach when you enter the room. Wear shoes that your host wear also. Again, don't wear the shoes that your dad wore to his wedding or that you wore to your bar mitzvah. Just go buy a new pair of shoes. Look good. All right. Before I go to number 5, learn to accept criticism. This is one of the hardest things for us Israelis to do. Believe it or not, the investors want to help you because it will help them if you're successful. Ever thought about that? So, don't always explain why you're right and they're wrong. It is a knee-jerk reaction. I do it myself. But if you'll just slow down and listen, they might be giving you a tip that is good. So, you will not die from agreeing with one of their points. Here's the 6th thing. Don't be overconfident. Now, we are very confident as we come in. We're coming from Israel, startup nation, innovation nation, right? However, don't say, trust me, it will be okay, to every question you're asked. Don't say, who do you think I am? And don't say, and this is a rough translation from Hebrew, what do you think, I was made with a finger? Just don't say those things. Take the criticism, write it down, acknowledge it. You should be confident, but not overconfident. All right. You don't know these people. So, let me explain that point. Many people say, oh, Netanyahu and I, we're buddies. I know everybody. And it leads to people saying things like, when I went to 3rd grade, I had a neighbor and their second cousin's best friend, went to the army with them, I know them. No, you don't know them. You know of them, you heard their name, but it's not like you can pick up the phone and call these people. So if you're asked about different people, don't just assume you know them. The best tip I would give you is, you know them if they're either a family member of yours that you're still talking to, or if you're eating hummus with them on a regular basis, you know these people for sure. Now, you also don't know these people. And here's the thing I used to do myself. As soon as I was meet my first person that I met in the US, the first thing I would do is invite them to sleep over my house if they ever visit Israel, of course. It is odd. It is very common in Israel to do, but just don't do it here and not with your investors. It's not what they're looking for. Let them offer their business card to you, and also don't just LinkedIn them the minute they say hi to you. I'll tell you why. Because if you've ever seen what LinkedIn tells users to do is only invite people you know. And we already went over that in the other slide. You don't know these people yet. Just wait until you get to know them. As I said, don't offer them to sleep at your house next time they visit Israel. You can offer it, but see how they react. All right, here's number 9. I'm almost done. Don't be a know-it-all. When people ask you about your competition and what do you know about the market, don't say, hey, here's an email from my competitor's email box that we got. I know what they're doing. That is not what they're looking for either. Knowing too much is actually going to hurt you. Don't say the famous, I can tell you, but then I'll have to kill you either. Again, they've heard it all, have seen it. Investors just want to know that you have the right idea, you have the right mentality to execute it, and that you will be successful. So, Last tip. This is an illustration of a know-it-all nation. All right, last tip. Allow them to say something. This is the number one thing I hear from common friends in the U.S. And the tip is, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Do the math. Listening is not waiting for them to stop so you can say something. Just listen. Many investors actually have a lot of companies that have seen the story before. They have to give you some tip. Listening would be a great thing. Okay. So, before we wrap up, there's a pop quiz. Trusona, do we have a prize for whoever gets it?
Of course we have a prize.
Excellent. So, which shoes do you think you should wear to the meeting? These ones? These ones? No. Maybe. These ones? Or the shkafkafim? All right. Shkafkafim? Okay, come see me later. All right. We're looking for that. And last, just so we end on a funny note, is which shirt should we use for the meeting with our big investors? Maybe. Oh, maybe the Tzofim shirt, no? All right. So, to wrap up, you're clear to meet. What I hope to have exposed, even though it's sometimes not fun to hear the criticism, is we need to listen more and make sure that our counterpart have a chance to give us some advice. And to be honest with you, the most common thing I hear is how much American investors want to invest in Israel, in the Israeli companies. I would wish I'd get $1 every time I heard that. But it's can I work with this person? Will they listen to my advice? Can I be with them in the same room is the number one concern. If we work on that, I promise you that $5.9 billion will become $10 billion in no time. Thank you very much for your time. Come see me later about the shoes.
Okay. All right, so I have to tell you, I'm going to have you win. Although, could you give me, yes, Nadash? So we came here, and we've been talking all week long, or for a while, about Israeli products and Israeli companies, and also Israeli chutzpah. And how many of you watch late night TV? And how many of you love those infomercials? I do. So one of my favorite ones is No. Have you seen No? I don't buy it, of course, but do you? How many of you here have watched the whole commercial all the way through? Do you all know what I'm talking about? Hair removal. So you know that in Israel is famous for hair removal. I don't know why. You have the Epilady product that came out of Israel, and you don't know this, but No is a product that is an Israeli company. How many of you knew that? No, you didn't know. So now you learned it right here first. So I'm going to hand you.
What is she trying to say? Hold on a second.
Well, this is for the prize winner. So it's for you to give to the prize winner, but I'm going to give it to you to hold on to until you find your prize winner.
All right, come see me if you want this or need this.
And also, I'd like to give you something very emblematic of the state of Israel, a dosh, all for you.
Wow.
And when you read about the history of this guy, you'll see this is quite a wonderful thing to have as a piece of Israel's history and present into the future.
Thank you so much.
Ori, thank you for teaching us how to present better, and I promise to polish my shoes in all conditions.
They're polishable. That's good. Thank you so much.
All right, toda rabah.